Chouette de Tengmalm. The boreal owl is a bird, but not what many people would picture if you just said bluntly, bird. It is a non-passerine, which is ornithologist for not a songbird, or a backyard bird such as a cardinal or a sparrow. The boreal owl subspecies are Aeolus phanereus richardsoni, the North American subspecies, which is also known as the Richardson's owl. It lives from Alaska along the Rocky Mountains to New Mexico and from eastern Canada to the Great Lakes region. Hungry male boreal owls will move nomadically down south to Georgia, where they will hang out near bird feeders in the cover of maple foliage and wait for a songbird, and to a male boreal owl, a songbird means breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They are darker than the nominate race, Aeolus phanereus phanereus. Nominate phanereus, Aeolus phanereus phanereus, which lives in northeastern Europe, from northern Scandinavia south to the Pyrenees and east to the Ural Mountains. Sexes are colored the same, except that males have gray facial discs while the female color is white. See the look-alike species curtain frame for more information on plumage. Aeolus phanereus caucasicus, also known as Aeolus phanereus beachianus, which lives in the Caucasus Mountains of Europe and from western India to northwest China. It is darker than Aeolus phanereus phanereus. Aeolus phanereus pollens, also known as Aeolus phanereus sibiricus, which lives from western Siberia to northeast China, and Aeolus phanereus magnus, also known as Aeolus phanereus jacutorum, which lives in Siberia from Kolyma to the Kamchatka Peninsula. Boreal owls are an example of reverse sexual size dimorphism, which means that males are smaller than females. This occurs in most owls. The boreal owl's beak is small externally for portable purposes, but is internally big for swallowing prey whole. It can open wide for just that reason. The boreal owl's eyes are big so that they can see well at night. They have 3 lenses so that they can still see while they sleep and rest. No North American owl has a greater ear asymmetry than the boreal owl, but the northern saw-whet and great gray owls have equal ear asymmetry. Their ear holes, if placed next to each other the same way they are positioned on the boreal owl's head, would be 1 centimeter away from each other. This shows that boreal owls rely mostly on hearing for hunting. Another advantage of ear asymmetry is that a male boreal owl can detect prey under the snow better. Their left ear, or downward-facing ear, is pointed more directly at their prey. If they didn't have ear asymmetry, boreal owls would go hungry in winter. In ear asymmetry, the right ear, or upper ear, points upward, and the left ear, or lower ear, points downward. Each ear hole is half moon-shaped, but they are covered up with feathers. This adaptation keeps their ears warm in the cold northern winters. The boreal owl closely resembles the northern saw-whet owl, which lives slightly south of the boreal owl, but ranges overlap, causing confusion between ornithologists. The boreal owl is gray and has gray-brown streaks on the breast, with a grayish-white facial disc and a dark gray head and back, while the northern saw-whet owl has brown-red streaks on its breast with beige for its background color and facial disc. Nonetheless, their bodies look similar, although the boreal owl is larger and rounder than the northern saw-whet owl, which is in the same genus as the boreal owl, Aeolian. On its head, the boreal owl has white dots or lines approximately 1 centimeter away from each other. They help the boreal owl blend in with the coniferous forest when a snowstorm occurs. These dots are also on the boreal owl's back and tail. Because of this, the Finnish name for this bird is Helmipurle, pronounced Helmipurle, which means pearl owl because of the pearl-like dots on the owl's head. The boreal owl's silent flight allows it to catch prey easier since its prey doesn't realize it is being hunted. The boreal owl's sharp, rounded claws help it catch and kill food quickly. The roundness of the claws helps it lock its prey so that the prey can't escape. A claw adaptation, the main difference between the owls of the family Strigidae, true owls such as the boreal owl, and barn owls of the family Titanidae, is that Strigidae owls have a talon, toe of a claw, that is shorter and more agile than their other talons. This talon can change position so that when the boreal owl is hunting, it can have 2 talons in the front and 2 in the back, so that the owl can grab and kill prey. To land back on a branch, the owl changes back into the 3 in front and 1 in the back, which is a more comfortable position. Young boreal owls have thick down feathers, home for the feather lice of the order Theteraptera. The owls itch so badly you may see them on a branch perching at an angle. Before he calls, a male will put prey in 5 or 6 nest sites, which are either tree cavities, nest boxes, or holes made by the large 35 to 45 centimeter woodpeckers of the genus Drycopus. He will sing from the highest point of his range, and he will sing for up to 2 to 3 hours straight. Then, a female owl will come and he will make a trill or stuttering call, and he will lead her to the nest sites. If she approves of any, and when she does, they become mates for life. Then, the female will lay 1 to 11 round white eggs, mean 3 to 5, one per day. They are 26.6 by 32.6 millimeters, and the average weight of her eggs is 17 grams. Each egg will hatch 28 to 29 days after it was laid. A fluffy 8-gram owlet covered with gray down will emerge. After a week or so, the owlets will be covered in chocolate brown and will be about 3 inches tall. They will be round. They will have lemon yellow eyes. They will leave the nest 30 to 32 days after hatching, but will still live in their parents' range, relying on them for food. By this time, they have gradually transformed into looking like their parents. Fun fact, when the boreal owl was discovered, scientists thought the owlets and adults were different species. They look so different. 4 to 6 weeks later, they will leave the nest for good and start their own lives. Juveniles mature at 9 months. Polygamy occurs when there is an abundance of food. This adaptation helps more young survive since there are just as many owlets born but not as much competition between males for food. When there is no polygamy, there are more families and more males competing for food. The less strong hunters' families will starve, and that family will not successfully produce as many offspring. But in polygamy, the hunting males will be able to feed many more chicks since they won't have nearly as many competitors, since without mates, other males will leave a particular area. The boreal owl mainly eats rodents such as lemmings, shrews, mice, and moles in Europe, those of the genus Talpa, but mainly preys on voles in Idaho, the red-backed vole Myodes rudilus. In food shortages, it will take bats, frogs, squirrels, and small birds such as thrushes, juncos, redpolls, kinglets, and woodpeckers. It has not been found to eat insects. It hunts by perching on small branches in forests and posts in farmland areas. The only time this species hunts in farmland is spring. The male boreal owl stares down silently, staring down and turning his head from side to side to locate prey. This may continue for an hour. Then the owl has spotted the prey. He waits for another half hour until the prey is in a vulnerable position, and then, using his adaptation of silent flight, he swoops down head first, rarely flapping his wings, and then, since the prey can't hear him flying, he flips so that he's facing foot first, foot away. Although the vole can now sense him, it is too late. The boreal owl picks the vole up, squeezes its neck to kill it, and while this is happening, the boreal owl is flying back to its perch to either feed itself or get some rest before it can return to feed its family. Unfortunately, the male boreal owl does not provide enough food for all of his owlets. The youngest, which are less strong than the eldest, are pushed away with no food to eat. They usually die unless there is an abundance of prey in their father's territory. Plus, in food shortages, the eldest overpower the younger owlets and eat them. In this way, at least some owlets can survive. Although prey does not completely differ between individuals, hunting habits do. For example, boreal owls in Sweden hunted 5.5 feet off the ground, while boreal owls in Idaho hunted 13 feet off the ground. Plus, distances between perches are 57 feet on average, but sometimes they can be 399 feet for the same individual. A hunting range could be 2 miles one night, but mostly ranges are less than a mile per night for the same bird. Boreal owls hunt in mature spruce and fir tree forests, not snow-covered plains, where there were not as many perches. Boreal owls that wait so long for their prey to go into a vulnerable position are more successful than impatient boreal owls. Young, inexperienced boreal owls are the impatient ones, and over time they become more patient hunters. When the aforementioned impatient boreal owls don't catch food, they starve and they move nomadically down south as far as Georgia, where they hang out near bird feeders to catch a few unlucky songbirds. However, they usually don't go that far south to find a stable line of meals. The owlets are finally asleep, the only time they are not constantly calling for food. The male boreal owl swallows his prey, his only meal of the night, whole, and the vole enters his stomach. The nutrients are consumed, and the waste, fur and bones, are packed into the gizzard. They are tightly squeezed into a ball, called a pellet, which is 22 millimeters by 11 millimeters. They are then yarped similar to a cat coughing a hairball. The pellets from earlier prey are now scattered at the bottom of its nest. They have accumulated a treasure for a lucky ornithologist. Boreal owls catch extra food and cache food or store food during abundant periods of prey. This adaptation ensures that the male boreal owl and his family will have food for less abundant periods. They hang their prey from spruce and fir branches above their favorite perch in coniferous forests, while boreal owls in deciduous forests hide their food in hollows. If a gray jay discovers a male's cache, when the gray jay leaves to notify his family and other gray jays, a boreal owl the male may relocate his cache, or he may quickly gobble up all of his cache. Or he even may sit on his cached food to unfreeze it from the cold. This unfreezes the cache since the boreal owl is transferring his body heat to the prey. Then he will either do the actions of number 1 or number 2. The boreal owl lives year-round in deciduous and coniferous boreal forests. In spring, it may go to more open areas where prey is more abundant. It lives in hollows and tree cavities as well as birdhouses on spruce and fir trees. Unfortunately, these magnificent creatures you have seen and learned about are under risk. As deforestation continues to decimate the boreal owl's population, individuals are losing their homes. However, there are things you can do to help. Give money to your local nature conservancy and create fundraisers to stop deforestation. There is hope for the boreal owl.